There are moments that are not announced, but leave deep scars. Suddenly, something changes in the relationship. That intense connection begins to fade without warning. The man, formerly attentive and present, begins to become distant. His messages arrive with delay, his words cool, and the warmth that seemed unwavering begins to dissipate as a mirage. Have you ever wondered why, when we fight to retain someone, the more seems to move away? Or why, despite delivering the best of yourself, do you feel that you become invisible to your eyes? These are questions that torment many women, and the answers are not always as obvious as we believe. Angustia, that sharp fear to lose what we considered safe, drives us to act. And in that despair, many times we fall into the trap of giving too much. Constant messages, attempts to recover magic, incessant proposals to meet. However, paradoxically, the more we try to hold something with force, the faster we escape. Carl Jung masterfully expressed it in the dynamics of the unconscious. What the soul squeezes with excess inevitably tends to fade. Before continuing, I want to ask you something special. If this topic is making sense until now, do not forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who also needs to listen to this message. And tell me in the comments, what city are you seeing from? I would love to know how far our conversation has come. Let's transform this vision of relationships and self-knowledge together. Translation made with the free version of the DePL. Common male desire responds to codes that sometimes are confused. What is easy and always available loses charm. On the other hand, what is scarce, which leaves room for absence, becomes valuable and desirable. The woman who is constantly available, without pauses, without mysteries, runs the risk of losing her emotional brightness. Absence and rarity feed interest. The overexposure extinguishes it. Think of a diamond exposed in all the showcases, little by little. Stop astonishing. But he who is reserved, exclusive, becomes an object of desire and admiration. Thus, human attraction works, and especially male. Today, I want to teach you how to transform this dynamic without resorting to games or empty strategies. It is about reconnecting with yourself, of becoming the center of your universe. You will learn the importance of conscious silence, not as a tactic to manipulate, but as a powerful act of dignity and self-esteem. This path will lead you to invest all that energy you spent out to nurture yourself until your natural magnetism becomes irresistible. And the most beautiful is that if that man returns, he will do it by authentic decision, not by pressure. And if it does not, you will have found something much more valuable, your fullness and inner strength. Because when a woman learns to attract instead of persecuting, she never gets lost again in the attempt. This absence, although invisible to the eyes, tears with unexpected intensity. Anxiety sneaks without warning, and every moment without a response becomes an endless abyss. Each distant word or indifferent conversation is examined with magnifying glass again and again, looking for hidden keys, justifications, or motifs. The mind is trapped in a vicious circle. What did I do wrong? Where was my mistake? How do I recover that connection that I feel that fades? With each repeated thought, the wound is deepened. Jung, in Psychological Types, clarifies that suffering is born when we misunderstand our internal processes as if they were caused by external factors. That is, we believe that the reason for our pain is in the hands of the other, when it really is an internal conflict between our unsatisfied expectations and the image we have of our own value. This anguish not only wears, but puts us at emotional risk. Under the pressure of that anxiety, many women end up doing things unthinkable in a state of equilibrium. They beg, seek crumbs of attention, insist with questions, and try to find meaning in the echo of a painful silence. But every time we act from that deep fear, the perception that man has changes subtle but definitively. In the most primitive of his mind, a man does not feel attracted to who seems to depend on him to sustain himself emotionally. The need emits an unmistakable aroma, despair, and as Jung said in The Psychology of the Unconscious, the desire springs from the space that exists between two people, of the mystery and the emotional distance, not of the possessiveness or control. Without realizing, that tireless effort to keep the bond alive only causes the link to wear even more. We want to approach, but that overwhelmed impulse pushes the other towards distance. We try to retain, but the anguish becomes the engine that makes it escape. The key is not to multiply the actions, but to stop, breathe deep, accept the void even if it hurts, and resist the impulse to act from that injured place. Each gesture moved by anxiety becomes another wall between us and what we want. And even if it is counterintuitive, the first act of true love is not towards the relationship, but towards ourselves. To stop is the most brave act. When a man begins to get away, many women think that the solution is to demonstrate more love, in being more present, in being more complacent. That reflection seems logical when trapped in anguish. If I remember how much I mean, he will choose me again. But this reasoning, although loaded with good intentions, clashes straight with male psychological nature. Each additional message, each attempt to look for forced connection, each act that pursues validation does not repair the relationship, wears it, because what he perceives behind those actions is not authentic love, but the need disguised as affection. It is not link, but empty disguised as delivery. It is essential to understand that both men and women perceive emotional vibrations instinctively, long before analyzing them with reason. It is not that he distanced himself after a cold calculation. It is that something inside warns, almost viscerally, that energy has changed. Carl Jung, in Transformation Symbols, affirmed that what we deny enslaves us, but what we accept gives us the power to transform ourselves. When we deny the anxiety we feel, we react from the urgency. On the other hand, by accepting that emotion, we find the key to turn it into internal force. If we do not accept the possibility of losing it, we are trapped in a prison of fear. That fear is manifested without us noticing, in every word we say, in each gesture and in each desperate attempt to retain it. Although he cannot explain it rationally, he captures that emotional burden and almost unintentionally moves away. Visualize a flower for a moment. The flower does not pursue bees or prey that they approach, simply blooms, showing their beauty and fullness, allowing bees to approach and value their essence. This should also be self-love, firm, radiant and peace, not a frantic act of search and need. When a woman begins to send messages, call incessantly or organize forced encounters, the invisible message she transmits is devastating. Without you, I am not enough. This type of energy annihilates attraction from its root. And here the paradox appears. The more a woman tries to hold the link through the insistence, the more it pushes it towards the distance. In the male mentality, the conquest is vital. What is already ensured loses interest. Jung, in The Self and the Unconscious, explained that the psyche is driven by the constant search for what has not yet achieved, because it is in the desire where the vital spark resides. The male desire feeds on what represents an emotional challenge, something that must win over and over again. Trying to retain someone applying pressure is like wanting to stop water by pressing your fingers. The more strength you put, the faster it escapes. That desperate effort not only moves the other, but ends up wearing your own emotional dignity. The need causes dependence, and the dependence ends, inevitably, for eroding respect. When a man perceives that a woman needs her presence to feel valuable, her instinct leads him to look for distance. Unconsciously, he feels that there is no authentic admiration, but an emotional demand that is suffocating. Therefore, the real solution is not to do more. He is not to pursue him, or in begging his attention, or trying to convince him of your value. Real power lies in step back, turning your eyes towards yourself and stopping that cycle of external approval. When a woman stops begging to be chosen and begins to choose herself, the transformation is deep. Energy changes completely. It ceases to be a necessity and becomes a beautiful gift. It ceases to be a load and transforms into an irresistible option. The female essence, reconnecting with its true value, begins to radiate a different frequency, a magnetic combination of calm, enigma, and fullness that cannot be ignored. This vibration not only attracts, but also filters naturally. A man who is not ready to face the genuine force of an empowered woman will not be able to sustain that connection. This is not about appearing coldness or manipulating emotions. It is an authentic internal transformation which transmits without the need to say, "I love you in my life, but I don't depend on you. I can give you my love, but I will never lose my essence to retain you." And it is right there, at that point where there is no longer struggle or supplication, where the balance is recovered, that true alchemy arises. When he perceives your absence not as a game, but as the genuine reflection of your own respect, begins to see you with other eyes, discovering in you a value that had not previously understood, and full, free, and safe woman of herself. Only from that place, a new connection can be born, clean of fears, based on mutual admiration and not on dependence. It is no longer a link built from the fault, but from a true desire. Although the instinct of doing more so as not to lose its seam, in the midst of pain, the only option, the reality, is another. Now you know, you don't need to do more for him. You need to invest more in you. There is a universal law that does not change. In human nature, we value more what is scarce. This rule not only governs the economy, but also emotions and relationships. Everything that is delivered in abundance and is available without limits loses its appeal over time. Love and attraction remain alive thanks to the feeling of exclusivity, mystery, to the risk of losing it. This dynamic is further accentuated in the male mind. A man appreciates what he feels that he cannot completely possess. Admire what you need to reconquer day after day. When a woman is too accessible, always ready, predictable, and delivered, without realizing it eliminates that emotional challenge. And where there is no challenge, there is also no motivation to conquer. Without that impulse, the spark goes out. Jung, in The Psychology of the Unconscious, makes it clear the deep desire is born from the yearning, and that yearning only remains alive to the extent that there is a certain emotional distance. When we give ourselves without reservations, when we eliminate all space and all mystery, we kill the necessary tension for desire to grow. Think of an exceptional jewel hidden in the depths of a remote cave. Who knows its existence is willing to risk, explore, and strive to reach it. But if that same jewel is displayed freely and offers effortlessly, its perceived value decreases, not because he has lost his essence, but because he has lost the aura of rarity. The emotional dynamics also work. A woman who protects her inner world, who cultivates her full and independent life, becomes that treasure that not everyone can reach, not because she plays mental games, but because her internal wealth makes her inaccessible for those who are not up to who is not up to he. The overexposure, on the contrary, sends a silent message that can be very harmful to attraction. When you transmit that your time, your attention, and your love are available to anyone, without requirements, without something that should be won, that leaves a mark on the male unconscious, the perceived value decreases, because a man does not seek just love, long to admiration. He needs to feel that he has achieved something important, that his dedication and his presence have a real impact. If you perceive that you do not need to strive, that your love is ensured without more, its natural instinct of conquest begins to go out, not for lack of interest, but because it is inscribed in its deepest nature. Jung clearly explains it in symbols of transformation. Human passion remains alive when the object of desire retains a halo of mystery and inaccessibility. When the woman stops representing an emotional challenge, desire inevitably fades. Many times, moved by love, a woman delivers absolutely everything: her time, her attention, her social environment, her goals. Without realizing, he places man as the absolute center of his world. Although this delivery seems noble, it has a devastating effect for attraction. The woman who continues to nurture her personal life, who takes care of her friends, who pursues her dreams and develops constantly, launches an infinitely more powerful message. I choose you because I want it, not because I need it. And that emotional freedom is irresistible. Do you want to leave a deep mark on a man's mind? Do not give him your entire existence. Invite him to be part of it without occupying the absolute center. Be a complete universe around which he wishes to turn, not a satellite that orbits his world. The key is to find that fair point. Show real interest without falling into dependence. Demonstrate sincere affection, but without despair. Offer your company, but not an availability without limits. When a woman dominates this subtlety, that art of giving love with generosity, but administering her energy well, automatically rises to a level higher to the eyes of any man. Not because it is manipulating anything, but because it restores natural harmony between giving and receiving, between showing closeness and maintaining a touch of mystery. Always remember, what is common, you forget. The strange thing, the difficult thing to find, becomes treasure. You are not in this world to be easily attainable. You are here to be valued, admired, and above all, respected. When a woman perceives that a special man begins to distance himself, the first instinctive reaction is usually to fill that void with words, explanations, promises, or desperate attempts to rekindle the connection. That impulse arises from a deep fear, the fear of losing something that before seemed so safe. But in the delicate game of human relations, there is an infinitely more powerful force than any attempt to retain. That force is strategic silence. We are not talking about a silence full of resentment or designed as a tool to punish. It is not about ignoring to hurt or manipulate feelings. It is rather a conscious act of emotional wisdom. As Jung explained in The Dynamics of the Unconscious, resisting an impulse does not mean repressing it, but transforming it. True silence is the alchemy that converts calm anxiety, the need, into strength. It is in that space of stillness that the real essence becomes visible. A woman who invests in her growth, who continues to learn and expand, transmits unstoppable force from serenity. She does not need to declare her value because she expresses it with her presence alone. And in the depths, the nutrition of the soul becomes essential. Reconcanto with genuine friendships, dedicate time to causes that light passion, surround themselves with beauty, art, and nature. All this remembers that life is much broader than simply being loved by another. The energy used to him before him is redirected towards the construction of a robust inner universe. And when a woman becomes her own center of gravity, when her well-being does not depend on external forces, something almost magical occurs. His energy ascends, and with it not only attracts, but also filters. Because not everyone is prepared for a woman who no longer needs to be chosen to feel full. It is no accident that when a woman prioritizes her own development, those who once considered her guarantee begin to notice her absence strongly. Because it has changed. He has grown, has resurfaced from his own ashes, and has done not to demonstrate anything but for herself. At some point in suffering, she understood a deep truth. The most important person who had to choose her was always herself. Rebuilding does not mean closing your heart or hardening emotionally. It means loving from fullness, but with firm roots. It means opening to love without losing the internal compass. It means looking in the eye to the beloved person and saying, "I love you, but my identity does not depend on you." In this new path, if he returns, he will find a transformed woman, someone capable of loving deeply but is no longer willing to sacrifice herself for anyone. And if it does not come back, it will not matter either, because she will have discovered something even bigger: her life, her purpose, her happiness. Jung synthesizes him perfectly in Memories, Dreams, Thoughts, when he affirms that there is no awakening of painless consciousness. Most will do anything, however absurd it seems, to avoid facing their own soul. But you have decided otherwise. You have chosen the path of courage, the path of self-discovery, and every step you take in that direction is a silent but powerful victory. Today, you understand that the true goal is not to recover it, but to recover yourself. Emotional domain does not refuse to feel, but to learn to move within emotions with clarity, dignity, and inner strength. On this trip of recovering personal power, the difference between being unforgettable or just being a passenger memory lies in the ability to manage those emotional impulses, especially in times of greatest fragility. Because when a man begins to distance himself, it is completely natural to desire answers, find encounters, or demand explanations. It is human, it is understandable. It is precisely in those critical moments where the true emotional strength is tested, not letting ourselves be carried away by fear, but choosing acting from serenity and full awareness. Carl Jung, in The Self and the Unconscious, warns us that one of the greatest breaks for our growth is to project our internal wounds on the environment. If we allow anxiety to take the reins, we end up moving that emotional burden to the other, suffocating the relationship without realizing it. However, when we are able to stand firm, without demanding explanations, without seeking desperate confirmations, we transform into an anchor of stability amid the storm. Emotional mastery is to observe the internal chaos without letting us drag us, understanding that feeling sadness, fear, or insecurity is human, but that reacting in a precipitous way only sabot what we most long for: balanced and authentic relationships based on respect and admiration. Here lies the difference between a healthy desire and an attachment that destroys. Longing to someone is a natural part of human experience, but depending on that person to feel full is a trap. Attachment arises when we lack something within ourselves. It convinces us that the key to happiness is outside, and when delivering that power, we become anxious and less attractive. An emotionally strong woman does not repress what she feels, but does not allow her emotions to rule her. You can miss intensity, but choose not to break the silence. You can wish a signal, but decides to keep calm. You can have the impulse to look for it, but prioritize your inner peace. This capacity is not insensitivity. It is the maximum expression of love towards the same. It is to be able to affirm, my value is not measured by who is in my life. I am complete. I am enough. That force is perceived subtle, but powerful. It manifests itself in security when walking, in the expression of the eyes, in the attitude towards life. A woman who knows that her value does not depend on being chosen projects such an intense energy that leaves a mark. Emotional control not only redefines the relationship with others, but transforms one's existence. He frees you from the emotional sway tied to circumstances and places you in the center of your own universe. When you reach this level of maturity, you stop being another option to become a conscious, admired, and valued decision. As Jung wrote in The Psychology of the Transfer, whoever seeks to live in dreams, who seeks inside, finds the truth. And that is the true art. Stop looking for validation outside and begin to discover the wealth that lives inside. Today, you understand that dominating your emotions does not mean rejecting your human nature, but honoring it with courage. It is not about eliminating your wishes, but of recognizing them without allowing them to define your value. It is not hardening, but becoming unwavering, because in the end, the woman who conquers her internal world is the same that impacts the external world, without running behind anything or anyone. There is a revealing and precious moment in the root of every woman who has worked on herself, knowledge, the moment she discovers a transformative truth. He did not come to this world to be chosen by someone else. He is here to choose herself day after day, to be loyal to her deepest essence, and to create such a full, so rich and authentic life that your peace never depends on the presence or absence of another. When a woman reaches this level of clarity, all her vibration is transformed. It no longer appears looking for approval, love, or recognition. It is presented as a spring of self, love so powerful that those around it only have two paths: rise to their frequency or move away. And in either case, she won. Jung, in Memories, Dreams, Thoughts, warned that life not lived is a disease capable of destroying us. Living, waiting for the eyes of others, postponing happiness until receiving approval or love is a slow way to die. Instead, choosing yourself is healing. It is starting to really live. When you stop wanting to be simply the choice of a man and you become the prize that only someone dignified can conquer, something powerful happens. You stop being an unforgettable option and become an indelible footprint. Do not beg affection. Do not supplicate attention. Do not compete. Do not run behind anyone. You simply exist, being yourself. And in that authenticity lies the force that magnetizes. If he returns, it will be because in your absence he felt the real void of not having you, not the pressure of being persecuted. It will be because, by losing you, he discovered that no one else had that serene light, that silent force that you embody. And if you don't return, you will understand that it was never truly yours, and that the trip, far from being in vain, brought you back to the most valuable, yourself. Because in that journey, you won something incalculable: your dignity, your peace, your emotional independence. Always keep this in mind. You are not here to be completed by anyone. You are already whole. You do not need to be validated. Your single existence is the greatest validation. You are not here to live through the eyes of others, but to look at you and proudly smile for who you are. Jung said that who does not become himself ends up being a reflection of the expectations of others. Today, you decide to be you, not an echo. Own path, not the destiny imposed by another. And it is just when you reach this state in which you stop being chosen that your energy becomes so genuine, so powerful, and so bright that those that one day do not value you will feel your absence as a hole impossible to fill. But you will not do it for them. You will do it for you, for the deep and firm love you have learned to sow and take care of, the only place where it will always remain safe, within you. And now tell me, have you ever been in a situation where you felt that anxiety grew when someone began to move away? Have you ever found yourself trying by all means to recover a connection that seemed to escape from your hands? I would like to know your story and know how you faced her. Tell me in the comments what was the experience for you, and of course tell me what city you are seeing. It is incredible to be able to see how far these reflections arrive and exchange experiences with you. If this video has helped you in something or gave you new reflections, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who also needs to hear this message. Together, we can create a support and learning network about self-esteem and conscious relationships. See you in the next video.